Hey guys, it's me, Black Blazin. I'm here with a Synth Writers Editor tutorial. Now, there is a help how to use page, but I will not need that, and you can scroll through it, by the way. I won't need it because I'm going to show you everything that it tells you in the map. So first, before we go into a map, I just wanted to clarify that this almost is exactly like Beat Saber in a way, but where artist name, song name, and mapper or mappers names can be placed. Track as well. It's preferred to have an OGG. There, you can have a WAV file. However, that makes your map extremely huge and very unnecessary. You can have a maximum of 900 by 900 pixels for an image cover, but the preferred image cover resolution would probably be 500 by 500. And that's about it. So track, artist, song, mapper name, everything else. Also, if you don't own Audacity, you should probably get that. You will need to at least have 2 seconds of silence at the beginning of your track before you make it. So it's to make sure that there's enough time for the player to get ready for the track. And it's just in general courtesy. So I'm going to load up a map real quick. Let's just let's do one. Let's say my map Overkill, which everyone does on Beat Saber. Sorry, people on Beat Saber. So, Right Overkill is a pretty popular map on Beat Saber. I created one for various reasons. As you can see here, I have everything in place. Riot, the artist's name is Riot. Song name Overkill. My name and the OGG where the song was directed from. From the OGG that the song was, where the song directory was. So, in what directory folder the song was. So, the cover image can be 500 by 500, like I said, and the OGG will merge with the file when exporting. So once this is it, you won't need it, as far as I know, but it's always good to keep a backup just in case. So let's start it. Now, I just want to say this real quick. Now that I'm using the newest editor has a more accurate placing of notes. So it's a more accurate algorithm, and that means some notes will be off, of course. They won't be off specifically in game. They'll just look off in the editor. That's just because the editor's new algorithm is different. Now, I have a list here of all the different stuff you can do with this editor. So for one, I can toggle the window for the shortcut. So if you really ever need to see any of the shortcut keys, just press F1 and it'll open it up right here. Right arrow will increase the amount of steps, which is basically just where you can place, how many spaces you can place the note on. Then there's left arrow, which I was just showing you, up and down the steps. Then there's up arrow and down arrow. As you can see, it just moves forward and backwards in the timeline. So Control Delete will delete all the notes on the difficulty you're selecting. And by the way, all the difficulties are selected by just highlighting over the difficulty option box and just clicking one of these 4 difficulty options. No Expert Plus at the moment. Possibly in the future, we will not know. It's up to the developer if he wants to add that option, and he might someday. So, if you press numbers on the keypad, you can actually select the different types of notes. Sorry, I meant the top of your bar. You can select the number for any of these notes right here. So this one is a left hand note, and this one is right-handed. And then there's specials. I will get to them after I am done discussing the types of shortcut keys for the editor. So numbers 5 through 8, 1 through 4, select a different note. 5 through 8, change the camera view from side view to free camera to center camera. So right here, free camera, which I use because that's just how I use it. You can also you can actually hold control and then 1 through 6 on the number to select any type of wall placement. So, and I'll also get to the walls later. And control number 8 will reset the camera view back to its original position. Well, the free camera view. Now we're moving on to the other shortcut keys. So now we have control home, which in its own respect just moves the edition area back to the start. And then control end will obviously bring you to the end of the song. So there you go. That's good for when you need to jump ahead or need to go right back to the start. There's also some buttons here, icons here. So right here is a little one, so it just says back to start. And you can just do this if you really don't want to press the button, which I normally do because I don't press the keyboard button. And yeah, we'll get all menu stuff we'll get to in a second. And space, obviously, pauses, plays, pauses, plays. So when you're press R, and when you're done, it'll jump you right back to where it was. So if you press R and pause, you can actually just scroll through and go straight back to where you were. So that's very useful. I'm gonna go back. I don't want it to create any unnecessary noise from the song. So the bookmark, you can normally just click it here and poof, here goes a bookmark, and you save it, and right there it'll be a little flag for you for later. And so you can toggle the bookmark by pressing the number 9. So you can actually take off one or place one. So as you can see here. And you can actually toggle the jump. So you can jump to to each bookmark individually by pressing the num key. And then you can also turn off the grid helper. This is not recommended since the best thing in the grid is that the best thing on the grid is this image. You would highly need this image for comfortability in the game, for your map. If you hold shift and scroll, you will highlight notes, walls, and rails, and you can, in this process, control C to copy specific area. You can also copy empty space and paste that over sections if you need to. You can also, I'll do this again. You can also oh, sorry, I didn't need to do that. You can press Control V and paste that empty space, or paste the nodes, paste the rails, paste the walls. And then F6 will allow you to change the camera and its panning and rotation speed. So that's good. So you can, let's see, if I wanted to just do 1. So, whoop, whoop, whoop. Yep, that's the panning speed. All right. So, we're not going to do that. Let's 0.5 it. No. So, we're going to do 0.5. Oh, there we are. So that's about half speed. For people who want to have different comfort types, you can always change that. You see how I'm panning the camera like so as well. So this is the normal camera pan. I will change that to 2. Does that change anything? Aben, edit this out. If this doesn't work, edit it out. Okay. So as you can see, I just applied 4 to the speed of the rotation, which is good. So you can do all that. So we're going to move on to the menu UI. As you can see here, you can change the BPM of the song inside of the song itself. Mine's set to 174. The song's BPM is 174. There is a decimal support, so you can, for whatever reason, you can just put that there. Heck, yep, sure, why not? And yeah, so that's fine. Offset, same. Offset is also real time as well, so you can change it however you want it to be. But yeah, that's good. So you have that. And now we have steps, which I just explained earlier, was to increase the increment of where you can place your notes. Speed, just faster or slower depending on what you want to hear and at what rate. Music volume, this stuff, normal. SFX turns down the note pitch so you don't hear. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, and that's pretty useful. So you've seen me click this a couple times. So all this does is change the camera angle without using the numpad, which I do frequently as well. And then you have this little bit here. If you don't feel like pressing spacebar, you can always click this. Sorry that it's kind of cut off there. The window resolution I have it at is just a bit smaller than what it's supposed to be. So, and I just showed you this button earlier. Back to start. All it does, pressing it, just back to start. This will tell you if the BPM is on point. More like it'll show you if it'll let you know if the offset is on point. Running full system. So that'll be useful as well. There's the grid comfort line. As I said, there's a shortcut for it, but you can also just turn it off manually. I do not recommend this. Even I don't. I like to have this grid here. It's good for knowing what not to do. If you're truly comfortable without the grid, you're totally capable of turning it off. But just for future reference and for now, do not turn it off. You won't need to. You can also turn off audio spectrum. Also not recommended. It's a very, very useful tool, very accurate to what you're mapping. So you're going to use it a lot as well. And then there's a couple of little menu options here. You can clear it manually as well without having to press the shortcut key. You can also go back to the menu. Both will give you the option of pressing no or yes, and then you can save it. Yeah, so, and then we're going to move on over here. So I already said this before, but there's 4 difficulty options inside the rectangular box of difficulty. There's easy, normal, hard, expert. Obviously we're on hard, expert. And then there's notes. Left-handed is blue, right-handed is right. Red is right-handed, blue is left-handed. Both can be changed colors in game, but this is a reference for what you're mapping to, so don't worry about the colors in game. There's also special one-handed, special two-handed. There's also the obstacle buttons, so you can change where they are, which placements they can be. There's also flash effect, which I'll also get into. I'm going to get into each one individually. And bookmark. So, and this will tell you where on the grid your line is at, and the waveform beside it. Now that that's all over and done with, I'm going to move on to some of the spheres, some of the notes and where they should place. The comfort grid here is a very useful tool to make sure that you don't go too far out of the way. These arms are about adult human length, and normally anything past this part here, actually past the red part here, will feel very uncomfortable and strenuous to the player. So never go out in this part here. In fact, you should just imagine a line that says "Do not place here" at this border. The only reason it is here is if in any sort of circumstances that you must need these areas here for whatever reason, they are there for you. But highly unrecommended to put any notes there. So this area here I would call the awkward zone, even though it is far better for comfortability. Do not place too many notes here, as this will, well, obviously just be awkward. This is considered a terrible face note. Unless you're directing the player away from something, you do not want them being static, standing, and just hitting a note this way. In fact, any notes beyond the face here, it will contribute to face notes, and you don't want that because that'll just be not fun. You don't want it to be not fun. Same with this. You don't want this either. This is also a contribution to face notes. These two are the only types of face notes you'll find in the game, and even then, everything that is face notes will be subjective, so be careful. This is only a guideline, not a rule. You do not have to listen if it works for your map, which it will if it works. So do not worry about that. But generally, avoid these areas. Do not map to this area. Yes. So, Yellow grid, I call it the mainly perfect zone. It's the best zone for placing notes because they're not too far away and they're not too close, so they never feel as awkward. And when you're mapping, make sure to stick to the yellow zone as much as possible. And the red zone, I would only use for certain reasons, like when you need someone to rapidly stretch from one area to another without hurting them. You want to possibly place a note here, and let's say there's a note right ahead. You want them to just kind of go a little bit farther than before, right up to the next one, and that's fine. That's fine. That won't hurt. The only thing that will hurt is if you do this. Don't do this. Don't do that. So make sure to stay within the grid comfort line. Take these as perfect reference points on what you should and what not to map. Um, and as well, below here, right here, as you can see, this area is pretty much don't ever map to this area. Farthest you should go mapping downwards should be right here. Any further, you'll be asking them to bend their knees, and it'd just be very uncomfortable and awkward at the same time, and it won't be fun. Especially for streams, if you're hoping to put plenty of notes in this direction, still a bad idea. Don't do it because it's just too low, awkward, and uncomfortable. So don't. Unless it works for your map and you need it to be that way, which is fine. Everything here, grid-wise, is completely subjective and up to you. Nothing here is limited to how it is. This is all just guidelines, and just take it with a grain of salt in case your map doesn't work for it. In general, avoid the areas. Um, so besides that, there are rails. Rails are very fun in this game and require at least a full set half a second. They require at least half to a full second in between the song. So if you cannot map between half a second to a second, well then just it won't work. As you can plainly see, it'll actually give you a little something caution there, a banner there that'll let you know that you are placing them a little too short. You can also combine rails, so let me just do a quick demonstration, even though this is weird. And I know I'm mapping, so let me actually do a map thing back here. There we are. Let's go back a bit. So I'm going to move on to rails now. So you want to put, let's say if you want to put two rails together, first you have to make sure that they are within 5 to a full second, 0.5 to a full second of 500 milliseconds to a full second of space between. Otherwise, it will not let you do that. So right there, you are able to, that is, to put rails, both colored rails on the same space, and then follow up with a fun pattern rail-wise, which you can figure out on your own. I won't have to show you here. But it's also a fun idea to put rails on the right at the edge. Sorry about that. That last place there was not supposed to be there. Right at the edge. It's pretty good for getting that big rail swings. So moving on to the special notes. Let's start with special one-handed here. This is mainly used for one-handing a certain part of the map you want it to be for. And normally, one-handers are meant for using one hand the entire section until the end. So whatever this person started on will have to end on, whatever hand that is. And two-handed, as the name implies, it is for putting both controllers together to hit the notes, which, as you can see, creates a whatever pattern you want it to be, actually. So don't take this as the pattern I'm looking for. It's just an example. But that's basically what two-handeds are for. So these are pretty simple. Only really make the best rule for placing special notes is you want to place them after the map's finished and put them where they fit. Because not all maps may need special notes. It's not really much of a requirement to have special notes in your map. Only if it works. Only use it if it works. In fact, special notes will only activate the stage that they're meant to be with, if there's three. Um, Three is the minimum, and five's best because you get the most combo out of the points. So make sure that if you're wanting to make a special stage or an emphasis on an effect or a part of the map with any of the special notes, you will have to make sure there's at least 3. If there's not, it's not worth it. It won't activate any of the special stage, and it won't be anything other than a special note that appears on the screen. Okay, guys, I think that's it for this tutorial. I have a little audio file that'll give you a little inspiration. That should be added alongside this tutorial, if not at the end, probably with it. That you should listen to, because it's something that comes from me as a mapper, and it should give you inspiration as one too. Besides that, thank you guys for listening, and that's it. You guys have fun making maps in Synth Riders.